So this one's kind of going to be a slow burn.
Dear boy, have a cigar. You're gonna go far. You're gonna fly. You're never gonna die. You're gonna make it if you try. They're gonna love you.
So this song, this one's like
had a deep respect, and I mean that most sincere. The album's just fantastic, that's really what I think. By the way, which one is pink?
song is like all about this kind of.
If they tell you the name of the game, boy, they call it ride the rain.
The corporate swagger and like mindset of the music industry. But like, have a cigar. It's like the guy, like the song is clearly a critique, right?
Just knocked out. We heard about the sellout.
Like the vocals of this are kind of like a soft critique of the guy, because he's basically a scumbag. But he's got cool. Have a cigar. Here, kid. Have a cigar. I'm fucking cool as shit. You're gonna make fucking money, kid.
It could be made into a monster if we all pull together as a team. And did they tell you the name of the game, boy? They call it ride the rain
But oh shit, here's the guitar solo, which is the rest of the song. But like, this guy doesn't really care. He doesn't know anything about the actual band, you know, which one's Pink. And so there's some interesting things they'll say after that, but really this entire thing is because of this guitar solo, and it just goes. So just write it.
Interesting.
So I fucking love that.
Good.
And one of the things that I love the most about that in the video, and I don't know if you noticed it, is the way that the drummer looks at the guitarist. Just like complete adoration. Like this dude, they're brothers.
Oh, cool.
And like this dude looks at his brother with like the most intense, like brotherly love that I've ever seen in my life. It's really fantastic.
Wow.
And like once you notice it in the video, it's really all you can see. It's just like this guy's always looking at him, just always looking at him, just like, wow, this guy is here in my life. And it just like it's really great. And you know, I found this video and like the lead comment is, get you somebody in your life who looks at you the way the drummer looks at the guitarist. Like that's the top comment on the video.
That's so cool.
So that kind of brings us to the topic of dating, which is, you know, what we want to chat about tonight. And yeah, that band has some swagger, and it has like, you know, some chemistry, you know, between all the players. And so yeah, I love it. And I love, you know, they've been doing a lot of music like during COVID where they're hanging out at the house together and just like doing jam sessions and rocking it out and you know, playing songs and killing fucking solos like that. Like goddamn. So you know, I wanted to start on that, share it, and you know, kind of like go in with that kind of like passionate but like, you know, deep adoration and love, and like, you know, hit the topic, you know, how it goes. So you know, I guess we need to figure out where to go from here.
Right. I'm gonna get a drink. Start with that.
Yeah. I was about to say cheers.
Cheers. Yeah. It's in the closet. It's a can of sparkling water. So
that'll work. So I guess we can open on kind of the thing that I've been trying to figure out for the past while. which is my own flavor of swagger, right? I guess you can't reply. And neither
You
can
are
the
a most
hypothetical
patient
audience.
person. Huh?
I said you can't reply, and neither can the audience. I had asked a question. I'm like, wait, this doesn't work.
Wow. I thought that they had like a chat. You could enable chat, or is that only with people?
Yeah,
that
but
have-
then, there's probably nobody watching us right now.
Cool.
Some future person is definitely going to watch this video. So hi, future people. But it's
Shut
just
up.
you and me, and we're hanging out.
Nice. I like it when it's just you and I anyway. Somebody else can watch it and be like, dude, these guys again. So.
Right. So, me and my sister have been kind of like COVID shopping for clothing together, because she's trying to like do a whole capsule wardrobe thing, and I'm apparently the fashionista in the family, and the most
That's
flamboyant
surprising.
person. Most anybody knows. So I'm the one who is getting hit up as the fashion advice person, which is a good feeling, but kind of weird because I spent most of my life relatively swagless, kind of intentionally probably, because whenever I chose to go for it, I would just like go for it, but for the most part. I was a recluse for a long time and just kind of like not antisocial, but completely asocial. Just didn't have much to do with people. So kind of building a social front persona and identity kind of from scratch in adulthood is a very, very weird thing. And it's not like I do what most people do when they're reinventing themselves, where they go somewhere and adopt the culture and swagger of that place. Like you go to New York and you either do like the New York media business persona thing, where you wear a suit, or if you're a girl, you wear like high fashion stuff and look sharp. And or fierce, or you go to the other side of the tracks, and you go like hard with the urban thing, and you wear baggy pants, and whatever you're doing. Or if like you go to California, you do like the California girl thing if you're a girl, or you do whatever your guy equivalent is, which is like you end up wearing makeup, probably. Just like a little bit of eyeshadow and like some kind of thing on your cheeks and over your nose, to tone up a bit, whatever. I've done that before. It's fun. Makeup is really fun. But whatever it is, like you're adopting the style of like a group of people, which is the style of like your friends, and it's whoever you make friends with, whatever your in group is, especially if it's something with an aesthetic, and then like it's online times because of COVID and also because of Instagram. So there's all sorts of aesthetic movements that you can find on Instagram or Tumblr, that are all about like a certain style. With like certain aesthetic themes and all the rest of it, but I'm trying to figure out something completely new because I'm masochistic like that, and this creative energy of whatever, just that's the core thing in my life that I enjoy. So I've been trying to figure out like an entirely new aesthetic theme from the ground up, and it's surprisingly difficult.
Yeah.
because it turns out that if you're trying to paint with ideas and a broad brush, everybody's already kind of done it. You know, like whatever the thing that you're taking.
That's nihilistic, and not
it's
true.
It isn't, but it's harder than I had not imagined, because I didn't really think about it. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. But it's hard. It's hard to really like differentiate like a meaningful new look that is actually original and unique, and also follows from like your, a person's individual philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't quite succeeded yet in putting together like an entirely new aesthetic theme. Although I'm kind of like, I'm halfway there. I'm not really doing it right now, but after COVID, I'm probably gonna have some people make some clothes for me that will actually hit like the fashion themes that I'm trying to do. So that's gonna be exciting. But that's not really dating. That's just swagger. And
we talked about your fashion company before, so I'm glad you gave me an update.
So like I need to draw out some more of the ideas into it, and then I need to do a lot of detail oriented thinking on what I'm about and what it's about. But so like the dating thing, my default like communication mode is sort of too self-aware and too introspective and too contemplative, and it turns out that none of that stuff is really helpful dating. I can pull it off like really, really smoothly, like in a way that works, but only with certain girls, and that makes it a real problem, because it's like it's difficult to find the type of girl that is into like the whole big brain thing or whatever. And it's not even really like what I'm about in life either. So it's even like more of a trick, because like it's not helpful as like the surface level thing, and it's not really the deep thing. It's just kind of the default that I'm in. Mm-hmm. Because that's just I spend a lot of time thinking while looking at my thoughts, and like communicating that way isn't the it's difficult to do well. Mm-hmm. And I can do it well, but I can see how much easier it would be if I weren't trying to do that. And so like the past month or so has been me spending a lot of time figuring out how to translate, or not even translate, but transition into a entirely different style of like interpersonal stuff that's like easier to use as like a social front, if you know what I mean.
The only way that I know how to pontificate into that is I have learned over the past few years that I select a few certain phrases that are what I call universal understanding phrases. And because I don't always know how to relate to the average person because of my intelligence or whatever I am, I don't know what it is exactly. And so I use those phrases to communicate that I understand what's going on, or that I'm aware of the situation. In terms of relationships, I am also introspective. as you are. I have found that my past relationships have started off awesome, in the middle have been great, and then have devolved as I have needed emotional support. And so
Mm.
I haven't really known women on a grand scale to be soft. Like,
Mhm.
I only know two speeds, hard and harder. Um, I don't quite understand why I haven't met your. I don't want to use the word Disney woman, but just women are supposed to be feminine, and I haven't met like a super. Like, I mean, they may dress feminine and they may act it in certain ways, but I haven't met super caring chicks. Like,
Yeah, the soft on the inside thing is what you're talking about.
I always like how you're able to make egg yolk out of the slop I give you.
Yeah,
Thank
it's like soft on the outside and then kind of a bitch on the inside. Instead of, whatever you're doing on the outside, but actually soft on the inside. Yeah, that's a bit of a trick in terms of like it's easy to find that, like, in terms of people like this is all like trying to find the right words thing. There's plenty of soft, like, people who want to be soft in the world. But one of the very strong, I guess, motivations might be the right word here, that women have towards men is finding, strength in men, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if women, like, if the woman is with a guy who she starts to think is like soft and like weak, then like that doesn't work for her. She's looking for like a strong thing. And so like it's like there's lots of people in the world who are like soft on the inside, but being as a guy, figuring out how to share in softness is like an entire skill set, ability, and like you need to, like, it needs to be constructed in the relationship. It can't, like, it's not something you can just like go into.
Okay.
Because like if you become like, in like the image, if the image of you is like soft and weak, then that's not going to work, because like the guy is the the protector and the provider, and the sort of the classic role of the thing. And if you're not presenting that on some level, it just doesn't work. For women, they're not looking for, like, if they're not looking for like for that, it's like they want a guy who might be soft towards them but who's not soft. And so
right.
figuring out a way in a relationship to safely expose your soft underbelly to someone, like, that's not a default thing in relationships. It's something you have to create. Like, it doesn't just happen.
That's
you know what
hilarious. I mean?
No. Well, what's hilarious? Like, tell me, because.
Well, and when I say that, to me, it's just I know that you're correct in a lot of ways, but I um, okay, let me just use myself as an example. Okay,
Go ahead.
because I feel like that would be okay. So I know that I am incredibly charming, and I can make pretty much a girl that I see and find attractive in some way smile, giggle, laugh, at like that.
You've got swagger, dude. Like
I've always
it's
been
not
able.
it's not showing up it's not showing up on the camera feed terribly much because you're it's like what, almost midnight, you're hanging out in your bedroom.
Yeah,
You're in your loungewear and stuff. But like I've seen you when like you put your swagger on, and you start
yeah,
talking in fun accents and shit. Like you've got a lot
yeah,
of swagger, like
yeah,
hidden away,
yeah.
so no, I get where you're coming from.
So
Um,
what I'm so I want to finish my thought. So um I I I find that it takes a certain kind of woman for me to be a boss, because I even know, like, my my first my first investor told me that if I were talking to him like I was talking to an employee, or even like an upper management employee, I would be intimidating to them. And I get told that a lot by people that supposedly are managers of big monetary funds, or whatever it may be, that that they don't manage small sums of money, or small problems. And I get told
mhm.
by them that I'm intimidating. So, and unless I can grasp from the particular female that she's capable of handling that, I don't go there, because I know that that particular person can't handle me at that level. Because I'm brash. I can be very brash. I'm very loving, but I'm also quite outspoken.
Mhm.
And if I can gather from how a girl has responded to situations in her past, when she brings them up, that she doesn't know how to handle that, then I don't go there, because I I've learned that, as you say, women like men who are sharks, whatever. I forgot the word you used, manly or whatever. But I think that sometimes I can be a little too rough around the edges. I'm not saying that I'm rude, or I'm angry, or I'm mean, but I tend to run out of patience with girls very quickly. I have no problem complimenting them, or telling them that they're pretty or whatever. But if I was actually seriously considering you know hanging out with that person, I can make that decision pretty quickly, based on how well they're able to hold a conversation with me. And I've noticed, and it took a long time for me to accept my intelligence, I suppose. But I've noticed that if a girl is intimidated by my intelligence, or whatever, something else, that I feel like I can't be myself if I can't use my full vocabulary. Um, and so if a girl struggles to have a conversation with me, that's a red flag already, because I deal with complex problems, and I want to be able to share my day with her. Um, but I haven't met too many women at a high enough caliber, although I have high standards. And I mean, these women, again, they started out at a really high caliber, but then, they drew, kind of dropped off. The last thing I'll say before I'll let you pick up with my thought is I've learned that being in business, that I have to be able to endure a large amount of pain for a long time, and I haven't met women who have had similar experiences that I've had. Not in the way of business. I don't need to marry or date a like 25-year-old Barbara Cochran or anything like that. That's not where I'm going. I'm just using her as an example. I want to, I just want to date somebody who's able to take charge of whatever she feels that's important in her life. Like, not to summarize this down in one particular sentence, the thing that I would ask girls constantly when I was in college is, what's your dream? And 99.8% of the time, I didn't know that they didn't know. And it's not that they don't know what their dream is. They're just too afraid to say it. And so, the 0.2% that said they did and they knew where they were going, those are the girls that I was interested in. And
yeah, that definitely
that's
makes
what
it
I'm
hard.
talking about.
Yeah, because you're looking for people who have their shit together, who are also able to handle some of your shit, so you don't have to hold it all the time.
Yeah.
And that you are actually asking a lot from someone.
Absolutely.
At least the way that you put it. And
Right.
so yeah, if you were looking for somebody who isn't always always working on their big vision, they might be more interested and able to kind of absorb what you're about. That's kind of like a gut thought here.
Interesting.
What you're looking for is tough, and it's also some of what I'm looking for. Although I wouldn't say that I'm looking necessarily for somebody who has a dream per se, but I'm definitely looking for somebody who will the way that I definitely would put it is, I'm looking for somebody who's a little bit more ride or die.
Okay.
And
Explain
so
that.
because I guess it's.
Oh, you mean, did you say ride or die?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because I've got big plans, but I've also got a good bit of crazy, of my own, and it's fun crazy, but it's still it's not default. And then one of the big things is, I've spent the past 5 to 7 years of my life cooped up in chronic pain, debilitated to the point of barely being able to do anything. And now I'm getting over that, and I have a lot on my to-do list.
Right.
Just I'm, I plan to go hog wild for the next few years in a certain sense. And, if I'm honestly looking for somebody who can follow both I want to, run away, to the middle of nowhere and take a random dumb job, just to live a different life for a while. And then, go back to, some version, completely different version of this life that I have now, and, make something of myself. And those are two extremes that aren't usually shared in the same person. Like,
Right.
you don't usually find like a boho hippie girl that also wants to marry a captain of industry or whatever. And it's like,
Right.
kind of have, a version of myself that's, doing both. And finding like somebody as contradictory as me, where the contradictions in them match up with the contradictions in me in a balanced way, is definitely a trick. And then, to find somebody who would be helpful as a life partner for the projects that I have in mind, but who is not like so full of themselves that, like being together would be annoying to me. Like, this is a difficult, it's a difficult project to find somebody who will indulge in your crazy, who will also hold you together. Like this is a difficult, stupid microphone. It keeps turning away from my face and it's annoying me. I also remember, because like, there's a bit of hubris in, all of what I'm saying here. I also remember this, there's this Tommy Lauren, I think. She's like this.
She's a commentator on Fox News.
Yeah, like a Fox News commentator.
She always seems
kind
upset
of a
about
bitch.
everything.
Yeah, kind of a bitch. I definitely don't like her. And like, like most of what she says, as far as I'm concerned, is nonsense of one form or another. But she's hot and also representative to some extent of like an entire type of person, which is like she's very put together. Like, she, has like this fashion thing. She's also like very like right-wing men, strong men kind of thing. And, on a very, very surface analysis, she's kind of like the avatar for like at least one half of the girl that I'm looking for. Right?
That's strange. Interesting. Coming from you.
Yeah, no, it's not true. Like, I'm not saying this is very literal at all.
Okay.
But there's an aspect of it that is like, the put together, the, somewhat success oriented, has like her shit together, like intelligent. She's not particularly thoughtful or like, using her intelligence well, which is something that I'm valuing more and more as I go across time. It's like, I don't care what your IQ score is. I care how well you use your brain, which are two very, very different things. There are frighteningly smart people who are incredibly stupid. And that's becoming more and more frustrating to me as I start, because like my brain was scrambled as a kid pretty bad. Like I did not know how to use it, and I did not get like a lot of really incredible ideas when I was young. I did not get fed a lot of great ideas. And so I've had to figure out how to find good ideas, which is an incredibly valuable skill set that more people should.
Unlocking your brain is difficult. Yes.
Yeah. And then, I've spent a lot of time figuring out how to use my brain. Like a lot of time. It doesn't come with a user's manual, and it's not entirely intuitive. Especially when you've got some kind of autism, neurodivergence, ADHD, dyslexia thing going on, and your brain doesn't work how it's supposed to work anyways. And so not only do you have to figure out how to use your brain, you have to figure out how to use your brain. And, that, but then on the other end of that, you unlock stuff that nobody else unlocks because they don't look deep enough. And you're forced to look deep enough. So you get these superpowers at the back end of it, but you're getting superpowers in your mid to late 20s. And it's like, okay, like I figured out how to socialize and like 24, 25, and it's like, okay, socializing is about. It's not what I thought it was about. It's about feelings and about having like an emotional, and it's not about like doing the right thing. Like the right thing's some superfluous thing that you were taught, but it's rarely true. You know, there's some like ethics and moral life. Mostly it's definitely not about being pretentious about those things. And, you know, that was like a big revelation. But that's the kind of thing. It's, you know, using your brain. So it's like, I'm looking for, you know, somebody who's not just, you know, smart enough to listen to me and understand what I'm talking about. You know, which some people, it's not even that it's a smartness thing. It's like people who don't have the intellectual confidence to jump into something that they don't understand. And it's not like, rarely is like raw IQ or, you know, where you sense about people's like intelligence the meaningful thing, but there are like, you know, I'm really like, the more time goes on, the less I'm impressed with intelligence. And the more that I'm interested in uses your brain right and has the intellectual confidence, which is completely not intelligence, to jump into something that they don't understand. And, you know, those are the things that I'm looking for. Like, you know, dumb to me is largely an affect. Like, it's like, I think that the differences in smartness between people are way less than everybody imagines. But, you know, there's a huge difference between somebody who's generally curious and somebody who is closed off. And there's a very big difference between somebody who uses their brain well and somebody who uses their brain for stupid and evil, or just uses it poorly and inefficiently and ineffectively. And there's a lot of that. And so those are the two things that I care about way more. But it, you know, it took a long time, you know, this is maybe a good example, because like two of my closest friends growing up, and like the two people who I felt like on a gut level were in my same mental caliber. One of them went on to become a literal rocket scientist for Boeing. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And she's like entirely awesome, like the most type A personality person ever. She's great. She's, you know, kind of fun to hang out. And, you know, she's very, very smart, but like very kind of like smart in a direct way, which is a specific kind of smart, like engineer smart. Her, you know, her mom is like an accountant in finance, and her dad is an engineer also at Boeing. Both of my parents were engineers, but I have very indirect intelligence. Like I can mimic direct intelligence, because like everybody that I knew was an engineer, so I can mimic that, but that's not actually my default mode. Like my default mode is very like a networky kind of thinking, which are very different types of thinking. I didn't realize this until like after high school. You know, I was always trying to be engineer smart instead of be the type of smart that I actually am. So, you know, that was that. And then my other friend, he grew up to design and paint minifigures for a tabletop gaming company. Like that's what he does. And I think he may have dropped out of that job, and like last I heard he was working in a warehouse somewhere. And you know, this is like a kid that growing up I always thought was slightly smarter than me. And I think it was mostly that like his education was way more default than mine, because I was homeschooled. So I had like a lot of my education was very useful, but it was useful in the unpacking that I've done in my 20s instead of immediately, because a lot of it was scrambled up and wrong or useless. And so making useless, like the useless stuff that I learned useful has been like a major project. But it's been like very effective. Because now I have an understanding about how people are not working right that very few people have who are also working right. Because I've been broken like very clearly, and I've fixed myself. And that is like a really, really deep skill set that is incredibly valuable. And I'm figuring out how to make that valuable to other people. but
Mhm.
like this is something I'm very proud of. And like, my friend learned like all the default stuff that if you go to like, smart kid school, what's it exactly called?
Harvard?
No, but
Oh.
like in high school, whatever, he went to some English college.
The magnet schools, Oxford.
No, like it doesn't matter what school he went to, but like
sorry.
like Running Start, or like like whatever the all AP classes thing is. Like I missed most of this cultural context, but like
Yeah,
people
me
who
too.
read New York Times and very, very default, right?
You and I are so much alike. It's crazy. If I may interject with your point, because
Go ahead.
it's my former business partners. They used to tell me that they built the road, or that I built the road that they pushed the car on. I think you and I make the boxes that everybody else tries to fit in. I don't think you and I are box people. And
Definitely not. Like
and so
I can barely stand to do things that other people doing just because other people are doing them, and it's nothing personal.
Same here.
Like I have to be doing something that's uniquely my own, otherwise I hate myself.
Yep. Same here.
And it's not even something where it's like I hate myself. It's just like
Yeah.
it's like
It
I
hurts my soul.
have to be generative.
Yep.
In some way.
Yep.
Like I have to be, it's not a uniqueness thing. Like if there were 1,000 people copying me, I wouldn't feel bad about it.
Mhm.
It's not like I don't know how to I have to be pushing the edge.
Me too.
I can learn from other people, but I can't be copying other people. And the thing is that I've learned more recently is that there's a lot of value in knowing how to copy.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
that's a skill that I'm working on because it's valuable, but it's not a like an internal default thing for me.
Yeah. No,
My
I get
default
that.
thing is to avoid defaults.
Yeah, same here.
Which there's a lot of problems that come from that, because a lot of the defaults are defaults because they work and they're correct, but there's a lot of them that are garbage. And it's difficult to convince people who are all default that the defaults are garbage.
Right.
Like we have a lot of problems in society that we don't need to have because the defaults are garbage. And some of the defaults that are garbage are obvious if you think about them for 5 minutes. But we can't seem to figure out how to agree on which defaults are garbage as a society. And it some of it at least is that nobody, one of the things that most people do not learn that they should learn is how to think technically, which is not the same thing as think as a scientist, but there's like an aesthetic to thinking technically. Because I can invent things that are technical. Like I can just on an aesthetic sense. It's not it's not in a efficiency trade-off model that I'm using. It's just an aesthetic. And the things that I create with that aesthetic are maybe not perfect, but they're definitely better than pop defaults for
going
stuff
back
that
to
I see.
dating. So
sure, because we're just on a crazy tangent.
Tying that back into dating, what I would like to say is, I think what you and I are looking for is someone who we can discuss ideas with freely. Because you and I are very idea oriented. My particular family, on both sides, has forced me to be very detail oriented when I'm actually not detail oriented. That's not my default. But I think that as a society, modernism keeps evolving because old becomes older and cutting edge. Social constructs always pop up every year. For example, you and I are both hobbyists by the literal definition, but they've reinvented the word hobbyist to mean maker. It's completely abstract. It means nothing. But it's just some word that was invented in Silicon Valley, but it destroys the old meaning. For me, the word hobbyist. I think for relationships, if I can discuss ideas and understand that a girl is able to think deeply about things, that is an attractive woman. Like, looks are important, I suppose, but if a girl is beautiful but she can't think deeply, she becomes not so beautiful. And every girl has the capability to think deeply. And to me, if you can fall in love with a girl's mind, it's so much easier to fall in love with the rest of her. There's just been very few minds that I've been attracted to. And I don't mean this in a total cerebral way. Like, to me, the ideal woman is able to interweave her femininity and her emotional brain into the discussion of ideas. I don't need her to be an intellectual like me. I just need her to throw her femininity and her emotional being on the ideas that I have, not to give me positive and negatives of it, but to give me a feminine perspective, because I think
I know exactly what you're talking
beautiful.
About.
Well, cool.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because here's one of the things. Like, one of my other friends, who was not one of these three, as smart as me, kind of growing up, this was the feeling. One of them became a rocket scientist, the other one flunked out, and I'm doing some kind of weird in the middle thing where, I might be a genius, but I might also just be sort of wasting my life. And, it's I can't tell yet. But I'd rather chase the light at the end of the tunnel rather than try and, do a normal thing. So, I'm definitely chasing, these deep, crazy ideas, to see where they go. But another friend of mine who's probably the person that I talk to the most about ideas is D student, barely graduated high school, struggled through college, quit college twice, went back to it, fought his way through. And he's kind of like a military guy, but he doesn't think well, right? But he thinks deep, and he thinks through stuff, and he doesn't have all the game playing. He takes stuff seriously and directly, and he's earnest and honest about his thoughts, and I respect that quite a bit. So he can go as deep as whatever I'm doing with me, and and just enjoy the journey and be there for the journey. And so you don't need to be smart in the classical sense of smart to be deep. And this is another one of these things that frustrates me about the way that a lot of the stuff about intelligence gets talked about. Is it's not most of what is intellectually important, at least to me, is not a horsepower thing. It's because there's the social intelligence stuff, which I'm definitely devoting a lot more time to, developing in myself.
I'm trying to change. Workaholic over here. Raise a glass.
And so there's that stuff, and that's a kind of intelligence, which is completely foreign. It was completely foreign to me 8 years ago, and since then I'm at least competent. But because I've kind of come to this as an adult, like the ceiling, like the skill ceiling that I kind of like I'm seeing for myself is really, really, really high because I'm not entrained. I'm not entrained with a bunch of bad ideas about social stuff. I just have ideas about it.
I would like to add something that a business partner said to me that I've kind of carried with me that didn't make sense to me at the time. But now in the last month or so has been making sense, and I think it can be applied to you. Also, in about 10 minutes I need to go, but the thing that I just want to mention that I found very perplexing at the time is my degree is in integrated studies, which is just a broad study of many different things that are interconnected for myself and only myself to understand, pretty much. And you could get that degree if you didn't pick a major, quote unquote. As far as physics goes for me, because I have no formal education in math, physics, the sciences, I haven't been classically trained in anything really, except for maybe physical therapy because I've had it since I was 1. I haven't been classically trained in much of anything. I don't have a ceiling to tell me what's a bad idea and what's a good idea. So things that other people would never entertain because they have formal education, I entertain, and so do you. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of like you figuring out where you fit. And I mean, to give you an example that you can maybe hold on to, for reasons I cannot understand, I was always obsessed with video games, but for a completely different reason. Because when I moved back home from college, I expected to see a bunch of professionals doing interesting work. And I looked everywhere on the internet for it. And the only people that I could see that were doing interesting work were game developers. So for whatever reason, what I could do was I could take a game and deconstruct it down to its most basic parts. And I just kept following that, and that's kind of what led me to the latest business that I'm in now, which has nothing to do with gaming, but is built on certain principles from that industry or whatever it may be. So I mean, and it's only something that only you and I could come up with, because it's one of those things where we have no ceiling, so we're just gonna follow the mouse until until it leads us to the end of the pier where the water is. You know, it's like I've learned to not be ashamed of that anymore. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, for you had chronic pain for 7 years. I know we've talked about it privately, and I've had insane amounts of struggles too. Like the only thing that's real to you and I are the things that we can grab out and touch, that's inside of our brains, that's somehow mm-hmm. real to us but not real to anybody else. And so we've kind of been pigeon-toed into this like inertial, like gravitational field of creativity, because we've been ostracized for so long. We've been forced mm-hmm. to creatively find our way out of so many different situations. So
yeah, it's the trick is that
what you and I are.
It like as a dating thing, the problems. So I've been describing it as like on a dating profile, I'm like a 6, maybe a 5. I could probably, like, I'm working on it, but it's like, in real life, I'm an 8. This is my opinion.
Okay, I don't know what that means. You mean like
like a 1 to 10, like appeal, like hotness. Right. So, it's like, a 10 attractiveness, 8 attractiveness, 6 attractiveness, whatever. So I'm like right at the cusp of, being appealing as a guy. And, that's just like, I haven't taken a lot of great pictures. It's COVID. I'm kind of a disaster. And, I don't have a lot of default things that I can say that are true that are traditionally appealing. Like, I'm not going to college. I'm not working on a PhD, literally. Even though roughly, if I were to try and peg where I'm at knowledge-wise about certain stuff, I could be working on a PhD.
Been there.
Yeah, like you know what I'm talking about there. It's
absolutely.
Like, and then it's like I don't currently really have a real job that I can be proud about. Go down the list. And it's like all the normal things that people say to like be attractive are things that I can't really say because the things that I value about myself aren't defaults. And so it makes it very, very difficult to, put myself out in the world and be rated by other people how I rate myself. And I am confident enough in my ability to judge myself accurately and to judge others accurately that, I don't really care to pretend like everybody else is right. It's just that, unless I start playing bullshit, which I may start doing, it's difficult to register on somebody else's radar accurately because what I'm doing is very stealth.
Yeah, same here.
So, that's kind of the struggle of being, an actually interesting guy. And that, this will take us back to the Tommy Lauren thing that I was saying, is that she was complaining that there aren't any good guys out there that
she
are
does
like,
that?
Yeah, among other things that are completely obnoxious. But basically she was saying like, hey, there are no good guys out there. Where have all the good guys gone? And it's like, one, they are married to their high school sweethearts. Two, they met somebody in college who was willing to, go with them. Three, they're weird.
Right.
And four, you think that the guys who are willing to go out with you for a month are, you're like, if you think of them as like 8, 9s, and 10s, that makes you an 8, 9, or a 10. Like, sister, no. Like, any girl can be with a 10 for a month. Like, you can be a 6 and be with a 10 guy for a month. Doesn't make you a 10. Like, just because you can get a hot guy, like a high value guy for a while, doesn't mean that you can earn a relationship with a guy. If you're going for a relationship isn't free, right? And like you learn this, like when you start to try and buy into a relationship with a girl, it's like, hey, you need to give me emotional support too. Like I can be there for you, but you need to be there for me too. And, you start to say, hey, let's shift this into real relationship mode. It's like you're suddenly asking for more. Like, the thing with guys is guys put a lot on the very, very upfront, which is like, you're charming, you offer all these, things. You buy her the drinks, you buy her the dinner. You put yourself out there. You make yourself as appealing as possible, and you do all of that for free, right? And then, you start to form like, the basics of dating, you sleep together, and she starts to give you stuff, like sex or, her, like,
she could just do small acts of kindness.
Yeah, small acts of kindness. Like, you start to build the thing. But she thinks, like, I think a lot of these girls think that like honeymoon first month of the relationship is like a fair deal. And it's like, no, the guy is giving you a lot and you're giving the guy some. And you're like, the idea of how this balances is that there's a transitional period where you work through like, the exchange, like the long-term exchange rate of the relationship. The guy is putting a lot up front. And I don't know if girls understand, that from a guy's perspective, like we don't have the same line on the relationship that girls do. Like
to end this,
I hope this makes sense.
I'm probably the opposite of like most guys. I start out very slow, and what I'm offering in terms of like I'll sit and listen to a girl and stuff, but I'm a fan of courting. I'm a very big traditionalist. So, like I said, I focus on thoughts and feelings, and most girls never get past stage one.
Yeah, well, like the thing is, you're putting up even more up front than like you're giving even more up front than most guys.
Oh, really?
Do.
Okay.
Yeah, because like most guys will put up front like all their charm and all their appeal, but that is only to get like basically to get laid, and then that sort of like levels the thing, and then you like start building the relationship after that. Like you're also putting forward like time and like a time investment, and you're also reading the girl, like you're trying to get a feel out for her, and like so you're actually like you're doing stuff in your relationship courting stuff that most guys do after getting laid. So like you're putting even more into the front of your relationships, and like I'm not gonna like judge, although I'd probably say you're probably overdoing it. But the point is that the back end of the relationship, like there's a lot there, that's kind of on the girl. Like making a relationship last is, that's partly on the guy, but a lot of that's on the girl. Like the girl has to figure out how to be with the guy for long term. Like the guy, like for the most part, as a guy, like I'm looking for the girl that can buy into my life. But if I'm getting laid, I'm not going to be miserable in the relationship. You can there are plenty of ways that the girl can figure out how to make a guy miserable in a relationship, but guys are pretty easy to make happy, moment to moment. Trying to figure out somebody to invest the rest of your life in, that's a completely different game. And that's what we're trying to figure out how to do and having this chat about. But in terms of just a regular relationship, we give a lot to get into your pants, and then it's kind of at a neutral state then. Like getting into your pants does not earn the relationship. The thing that earns the relationship is the stuff that we were talking about, like being there for us, having, the emotional support that we need to, to work on our shit and, to get, to develop ourselves as people and, all that, like deal with our trauma, because guys have trauma too. This is, there's a lot of things that most girls don't realize that they should or can do, right, that can buy a relationship. And that was what you were talking about a lot. And some of what I think is important there is that stuff comes after you get laid. And I think that there's a lot of girls who think that they buy the relationship with the pussy, and it's not how it works. Like you buy, like that's like we're making a big investment being charming, and then that pays off.
That's a loaded statement, bro.
Yeah, it's like that pays off, getting laid, and then there's a lot of stuff that we do to make a relationship work, but there's a lot of stuff that the girl needs to do to make the relationship work. And I'm not
closing statement.
Oh, it's probably the worst closing statement ever. I'm gonna get destroyed for this. But I can't. I want to say it in a more romantic way than what I have in my head right now. But I'm kind of feeling very direct, and I'm just drunk enough that I said fuck it. But yeah, there are guys. We're looking for good long-term relationships. We're not finding women who are offering us that on a level where we want to buy into it.
Yeah.
And like, we know what we want, and we even know how to find the people who have a good bit of it, but there's some kind of big cultural disconnect in the male, female, masculine, feminine thing. And we're probably going to talk about this more, but we both need to go. So, good night, everybody. Take care. Positive vibes to everyone. All that good stuff. Good night.
Good night.